Hello and welcome to Science Never Stops. I'm your host, Joseph Vick with the U.S. Space and Rocket Center, and today's topic is plants, but specifically plants in space. Here we are in April, it being Earth Day, it being Earth Month. So to celebrate the spring and the plants growing around us, as you can see, I'm in the middle of a jungle of mixed plants and vegetables and fruits. So we would eat these, some of these on display, like the lettuce, the carrot, and the yummy tomatoes that you may have already planted in your backyard garden. Now, these are items of food that we would be eating, that we would be enjoying, but astronauts also enjoy eating food and enjoying eating fresh fruits and vegetables. They eat majority of packaged foods, but they do on occasion get fresh form type fruits and vegetables, apples. They even grow some things on board the International Space Station. For instance, the lettuce. Growing food for deep space exploration is something NASA has been looking into and studying because food and all types of supplies take up space in the capsules, take up space and weight on the rockets that are being launched. And if you have the ability to grow your own food, you can have a sustainable mission, growing food for deep space exploration, whereas you take the seeds and grow your own instead of taking the finished product that may or could go bad along the way. So this activity will allow you to see the steps of planting seeds, just like the astronauts on board the ISS have done for several experiments, to see and to determine plant growth. So there is a spot on board the ISS that is called the Cupola. It was made by the European Space Agency out of Italy. And it is a space where astronauts like to sit, where they like to view their home sweet Earth below. And if you've ever seen various movies on space or on board the International Space Station, views from Earth are usually taken from that cupola view. So we're going to be making today cupola microgravity sprouts. So let's get started. Now, with plants and plant growth, the majority of plants begin their life cycle with a single seed. Seeds come in all shapes, all sizes, all colors. And for seeds to germinate, they need the following conditions. Like all life, we need water, and I have here a spray bottle of water, but in nature you get that through rain and the water cycle. Also, they need something to break what is, and if you've ever held a seed, and for this activity, observe the seeds and hold the seeds, whichever ones you choose. I have here, I'm using pole bean seeds from the garden. But you can use tomato seeds, you can use snow peas, you can use any type of bean like I have, or lettuce. Lettuce is a big, common, and very popular thing that the ISS grew. So your seed of choice is up to you that you can grow and you can look at for your cupola microgravity sprout experiment. But take a look at your seed. Like us in the wintertime when we go out, we get cold, so we put on a coat. Seeds have a special hard seed coat that protects what is inside, and what is inside is a baby plant. So you have a baby plant on the inside that you have to nurture, and then that little bitty seed coat will then take itself off, because when seeds germinate, they usually require a little bit of warmth. So if it gets warm, you gotta take that coat off so you can sort of stretch your arms out and start doing stuff outside. That's the same thing with a seed. So once that seed coat gets removed or breaks, then the little baby plant can start to emerge and grow. The first thing that comes out of the seed coat is a little tiny thing called a radicle. It's radical, it's new, it's the first thing coming out, and that springs out and it starts to plant itself. We call them plants because they plant themselves into the ground. So that radicle will come out just like a little foot or a little hand that will grab onto that soil and start finding the soil and going down to establish itself. So then after that, you have a little bit of a hypocotyl and epicotyl that comes out. Those are the fancy science words for the baby plant, where you start to see that first emerging little bit of green. But when you get hungry, you eat food. Also inside of this is a snack for that baby plant to eat on, and it is called a cotyledon, which is a sort of adapted little bit of food inside of this seed for it to eat on as it grows before it can stick and establish roots to start sucking up nutrients from the ground. Now, I happen to draw in my journal a picture of the seed that I'm using today. So I drew the outside of the seed, so you have the seed coat on the outside. And then I drew a diagram from the inside of the seed where you have the cotyledon in yellow, that area where it's the food for the baby plant. You have the baby plant here with the hypocotyl and epicotyl. And then once it grows and establishes and pops itself out of the seed, you finally will have those beginner leaves. And then that first thing that pops out, which I call the radical, that little foot that comes in and attaches itself to the soil. So, we explained a little bit how seeds emerge, or how the seeds start to break free in the baby plant, starting to come out of them. But it's a step-by-step process. Depending on the seed that you have, it could take 7 to 14 days, or some seeds take even longer, depending on what conditions they need to live and survive. So, this one that I have will take about 7 to 14 days. The warmer the better, and now we're in April, it's warming up. But we're going to have our own experiment with these. We're going to plant these, but not in the ground, because on board the International Space Station, they don't have dirt. They don't have an outside backyard to plant seeds. They have to do them in an artificial environment. So we're going to create our own artificial NASA microgravity growth chamber. And what you'll need to do that is the following. You'll need a paper towel sheet that I folded in half, your seeds of choice, a Sharpie, plastic bag, water in a spray bottle is best, but you don't need one, you can use the tap, and a roll of tape. Masking or Scotch tape will work. What you'll need to do first is take your Sharpie, your marker, and write today's date. So today happens to be Earth Day, and in celebration of Earth Day, you can plant a tree or plant a seed so that you can help with the earth. Now, all plants produce oxygen for us to breathe, and they're beautiful to look at. So planting anything on today is a celebration of Earth Day. And it's not just any Earth Day birthday, it's the 50th anniversary birthday of Earth Day today. So I have labeled it Earth Day on April 22nd, 2020, writing that date because this is the beginning of our experiment. So we know the very start, the very beginning of when we planted our seeds. So we can, with our journal, take note and observe the days, each day writing and taking or drawing pictures, or taking pictures with your phone, or iPad, or digital device to track and take note of how it's grown and each day what has happened. So the first thing you need to do, open up your bag and insert your paper towel, folded paper towel, into the bag. Then I take the spray bottle and spray it until it is moist enough. You don't want it too wet, you don't want it too soppy. There we go. And then let the water absorb on that paper towel. If you're doing this under the kitchen tap, you can soak the paper towel and you just wring it out so that it's still wet, and then fold it out and then place it into your bag. So this one is just wet enough. You may want to press it out a little bit so that water gets completely distributed on that paper towel. Now that water on that paper towel will help hold the seeds down on that paper towel. So I chose 5 of these pole bean seeds for my experiment. If you wanted to do more or less, that is up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and put them in the Saturn F1 engine configuration, since I'm using 5 of these seeds. Set those down and arrange them. Now, some seeds, these aren't one of them, but some seed coats, the outer coating, requires something to happen to them for them to crack or get scratched in order for them to start. If that is the case and you buy seeds at the store, you have them, that should be labeled on the back. But if you want to try it, just sort of scratch a little with some sandpaper works, or just roll it in your hand like this a little bit, and that should work. And then press the air out of the bag, seal the bag, and there you have it. So I have my 5 seeds. You can see them a little better on the back. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in the configuration of the F1 engines off the Saturn V rocket. But this is my growth chamber. So this is what will be used to germinate these 5 seeds. Now, what else do plants need? We have the water. We'll need to plant them, or we'll need to put them in a warm place. Now, on board the International Space Station, they use artificial light. Now, I'm going to use natural light and encourage you to use natural light as well, because I'm going to tape mine to my cupola at my house. So I have a large window that outlooks the backyard into the garden. So I am going to tape this up beside the one that I did about 14 days ago. So you can see the comparison of those just planted to about 14 days worth of growth. So let's put this up and let's check it out. Now I'm here beside my window where we have the cupola looking out into my garden, and I have the one here that I planted 14 days ago, and I'm going to put the one that we just built, the first planting. So I have masking tape, so I'm pulling off a little piece of masking tape, one for each side. I'm going to set it right beside it. So I'm going to set it up onto the window and tape one piece on each side. I'm pretty tall, so I put mine up high so I can see at eye level the plant. So there it is. I have planted it, my microgravity growth chamber, on my cupola at my house. And let's compare the two. So here are the two side by side. You can see there is far more growth with these that I planted about 2 weeks ago. So when you first start to see your seeds germinate, you will see a small radical pop out of the seed. So you can see a little remnant of the radical there in the middle coming from that seed. And then they will continue to grow, putting out roots, and then eventually putting out the hypocotyl and epicotyl shoots, the baby plants coming here. And then you'll start to see the true first leaves start to emerge. Now, find that when you're looking at some of your plants, you may have some sort of potential for some growth. Notice I have some sort of growth here, but mine is the staining from the seed coat. But sometimes you can have mold growth. If you wanted to wash off your seeds before, or if you wanted to use distilled water or just regular tap water, there is the potential for possibly some mold growth. But if that happens, don't worry. Sometimes it will kill your plants like it did on the International Space Station. There was some mold that started growing on plants and it did kill them, and they had to do the experiment over. But if that happens, you can be like the astronaut and just start back over with your experiment. Now that you have your microgravity growth chambers on your cupola, on your window in your home, make sure you take a look and observe what is growing. Take account of when they start to sprout, when they start to germinate. Take note each day in your journal, noting how much did they grow. You could use a ruler to rule or to then go through and measure the amount of growth each day if you wanted to. Plant growth is fun, it's exciting, and you get a sense of, I accomplished this, I helped these plants grow. So happy Earth Day, happy planting, and always remember, science never stops growing.